Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you all are doing well, all you guys and girls out there. It's been a pretty good Saturday for me. I'm just sitting here taking it easy, playing some Final Fantasy. So let's talk about some Final Fantasy. What I want to talk about today is defending. And defending in the age of Ifrit, T8 elementals, T9 troops. We're starting to see it more and more, and it's just going to be more and more as we go into the future. Certainly in the oldest servers. Yeah, it's gonna start getting pretty intense here. If it's not already intense, it is right now. So let's talk a little bit about defense. Since I made my last defending video, it used to be you could get away with some powered up Undertaker. You could get away with some powered up, Infernian and those kinds of gear sets. Archean, that used to work pretty good for defense, but now the buffs are so big, the people hitting you are so strong that's going to take a little more than that. Like you're going to need a couple things going for you. And let's talk. The first thing I would say, there's a couple things for defense you're going to want. And the first thing, well, the two main things that I think are important for defense is as many troop buffs as you can possibly get, which kind of makes sense, and then the right combination of troops. So you're going to need a good mix of certain kinds of troops and then as many buffs as you can get. So let's talk about how to get the most buffs first. And most of my buffs on defense, most of my buffs, because I have Iris, and if you have Iris, you're pretty well off with Iris for defense because you have this enchantment, this accessory enchantment, the Moogle Charm. That's going to help you out. But if you've got Iris, you're probably pretty set. So let's just say you don't have Iris, and let's say you need as many troop buffs as you possibly can get. Where do you get them? And most of my buffs come from my gems and my hero. My hero's gear, the gems on my hero's gear, that's where most of my buffs come from. If you ignore Iris, that's where most of my buffs come from. So a lot of people debate what hero is the best for defense. If you've got Iris, I would go with Noctis or Luna or you can even do Luna and Noctis are pretty good if you have Iris because the way she buffs your troops. Gladio could work, but let's say you don't have Iris. Let's say you have all the other heroes. The heroes that I like for defense, I like Luna still because the hospital capacity really helps out, especially if you have Guardians, you want a big hospital capacity. So that's why Luna's pretty good. Cindy's great because she's going to give your trap some armor. She's going to give your trap some additional buffs that are going to help you out for defense. That's also going to help keep your Guardians alive. So I think those two they're pretty solid heroes to use. Gladio still works. He gives you some decent warrior buffs. And warriors seem to be what is the easiest thing to buff these days. Like having good warriors helps out tremendously. So so get your hero, but almost doesn't matter what hero. Like you were a little bit better off with Luna, a little bit better off with Cindy, but what's actually more important is having really good gear and then having it gemmed up as good as you can manage. And today, the gear that you're going to want to use, you used to be able to get away with Undertaker, but not so much anymore. Now there's really only two gear sets that are going to help you out, and that gear set is the Destiny gear. And it's also the Aegis gear, the Aegis gear. So get those, either one of those two gear sets you can get away with. Even like a basic gear set of either of those. They're by far the best gear. If you don't have that, you could go with some really powered up Infernian or Hydreian or like level 20 plus gear from the older gear. But even that, you look at the gear buffs on it, it's not as great as you would want. Like, it's just not that good. Most of your buffs, like look at this, level 21 Magitech Alpha. This was pretty good a while ago. You'd get the 10k warrior attack and a little bit of lightning elemental troop HP, some attack resistance. But look I'd be losing hundreds of thousands of armor and HP switching to this thing. So you can see how what gear used to work just doesn't work anymore. You really need the Destiny gear or the Aegis gear. And if you don't have either of those, you can even just keep your monster gear on because it's not going to help you out a whole lot. Even if you have level 20 Hydreian gear, it's not very big buffs compared to what buffs you can get elsewhere in the game. But I guess every little bit helps. So if that's your best gear, then use the Hydreian. I still use the Hydreian boots because I have no boots right now. The Hydreian's still the best I have. So if it's the best you got, go with it. But trying to get that Destiny gear. And the thing, I think the Destiny gear is better than the Aggies gear for defense. And the reason I say that is the troop attack against Astrals. It's so difficult to eat through all of somebody's Astral HP when they're attacking you without this Destiny gear. The Master Destiny gear is better. Of course, the Grandmaster is the best. But if you don't have this gear, it's tough to eat through their Astrals. And you want to be able to eat through their Astral HP because that's going to prevent them from wanting to attack you multiple times. Because a couple things are going to happen. If you can eat through all their Astral HP, you could capture their hero. That's a plus. The other thing is they're going to constantly have to be re-healing their Astrals if they're attacking you and you're doing a lot of damage to the Astrals. And that's a plus. If you can prevent them from attacking you many times, you got to take it. So that's why I think the Destiny gear is still the best. But the Aggies gear gives you really good troop buffs. So you can get away with that. I think you'd be fine with that gear too. It's more trying to prevent your troops from dying, that gear, than it is from like the Destiny gear is trying to capture or whittle down and wear down the opponent attacking you. So that's kind of the different mindset between the two gear pieces. But, if you can get one of those two gear sets, you're set. If not, no big deal. Hydreian's fine. You can still make up for lack of gear in other ways. If you have good gems, that'll help you out a ton too. So I'll show you guys the gems that I'm using and what I would recommend for defense. So if you can get, let's gem this puppy up. Let's embed it. So what I do, here's my gear set. This is my gems, my gear set. This is my gems. I go an HP gem, a fire gem, a warrior gem. Sometimes I'll use an armor gem here. I used to use the Carlo Boss HP gems, but with that new Realm Boss, a lot of people are going to have more HP from the normal green gems. So, that's what I would go with. If you can get a level 14, 15, 16 of this, you'll be pretty fine. That'll help out a ton. If you have the elemental gems leveled up, that could be tremendous help for defense if you have a lot of elementals. If you don't have many elementals, don't bother with the elemental gems because they're not going to help you out. But you could at least do an HP gem, a green one, a purple gem, armor, and the red gem, the warrior. That'd be fine combination. You could do cavalry buffing gem or a mage buffing gem. It all depends on how your troop comp is and what you're set up for. I'm really heavy warriors. I've got a lot more warriors than other troops. So I have a lot of gems that buff my warriors. And also that goes really well if you haven't Ifrit. But we'll talk more about Ifrit in a little bit. Let's stick with the gems. Of course, getting your Paragon gems unlocked is going to be big. And we have some new gems from that boss. But I would say, of course, your main options for gems, the troop armor one, you can get pretty good troop armor there. The big benefit of troop armor is if you have more troop armor than your opponent, there's a good chance that they're not going to be able to get the Gladio buff if they have Iris. So having a lot of troop armor could come in handy. The downside of armor versus HP is they can shred your armor. If they have a lot of armor shredding capability, they can eat through and wipe out a lot of your armor. But here's the thing too, guys. Now there is a lot of anti-armor shredding ability. If you've got certain monsters on defense, and we'll get more into monsters on defense, and if you've got Ignis's enchantment, his Ignis's enchantment, his enchantment in the Arcanium, that's what I was trying to think of. Ignis's enchantment in the Arcanium will give you some anti-armor shredding too. And if you have those, if you have a lot of armor and anti-armor shredding, I think that's a pretty sick combination. So that's why I went with the armor gem here. You could do an HP. That's still good too, especially if you don't have much troop HP. The other thing are these new gems. And these new gems are really good for defense. These green ones. Paragon Protector gems. That gives you armor, HP, and city defense attack bonus on so these all apply on defense. That's 3 really good buffs at level 3. Level 2 is not much worse. And even the level 1s of those are good gems. Like, that's a fine gem. 20k, 20k, 62k. If you have 7 of those, That's, what is that? That's 140,000 HP, 140,000% attack, and really good city defense armor. I'm not even going to do the math on that, but like over 300,000. So as you can see, you can get a lot of your defense, a lot of your troop buffs from your gems now. And that, yeah, that's just one gem, guys. If you have 7 of those and then 3 good gems here too on each gear piece, it almost doesn't matter if you have, like, those buffs are so great compared to the old gear, like the Undertaker max powered up. Just having a level 16 gem versus a level 15 gem makes up the difference on the Undertaker gear. So that's why I'm thinking if you don't have the newest gear set, you probably should try to get your hands on it. But if not, no worries. You can still get by. Hopefully you have good gems, and those are the gems I would say. You're going to want 15 or 14 plus gems here if you can get it. That's going to help you out so much, guys, if you can get that. And of course, yeah, so I would do what you can to get that. I mentioned what heroes. Did I mention that? I'm not sure if I mentioned that. We can talk about that in a little bit. So that's probably the biggest way to get your buffs, is to have your hero home in your empire, have them geared up with some Destiny gear if you can get it, have them gemmed up properly, at least gemmed up properly. And moving past that, the next big thing is if you can get to Citadel 81. At 81, you start getting huge buffs from the buildings inside your map here. So getting all your inside buildings to 81 is going to be gigantic. I'm slowly working on that. I've got 3 to 81. But if you can get every single building to 81 inside, you're going to be really set. So the sooner you can get that done, the better. Best way to level up your buildings is to get resources to level up your buildings. Just keep doing the events. Eventually you'll get there. Eventually, it's kind of a slow process, but look at the jump from level 80 to 81 on these. 700% to 30,000. So if you have 10 of these at 30,000, that's 300,000 troop HP. So that's going to help you out an insane amount. Those two things together are going to be huge. The next big thing is having a good combination of wells or expansions. Now, what I recommend for defense are the wells. The thing with the wells too, you get essence production, so you can imbue and make elementals. You also get really good buffs as you level them up. The march size buffs and the other buffs too. Of course, earth wells are HP. Ice wells are armor. Fire wells are attack. And lightning wells are armor piercing. I think the big ones, if you can get ice, earth, and fire, those are the best ones for defense. The armor piercing doesn't help out all that much. So maybe you just go one lightning well, and the others you can do ice or earth or fire. But that's what I would do. And of course, as much leveled up as you can get them, the bigger buffs you're going to be. So that's probably the next most important thing. I mean, if you get some... Let's see, I've got 7 of these, and at level 22, you get 42,000 armor piercing, but let's look at the better ones here. Let's look at the ice. So you can get 258k armor on a level 22 ice. If you have 6 of those, that's over a million. That's over 1.5 million armor if you can get some level 22 of those. So that's going to be a big portion of your defense. If you can get a couple of those, or even just level 8s, however leveled up you can make them, do it. And I would definitely go the wells. All the other expansions are kind of outdated unless they do something else to make them better. Like unless they open it up to level 20 on the academies or something, or the Guardian Enclave. It could be good if they made it to level 20 where you get better Guardian materials. But right now, you really got to go with the wells for defense. And you could go Moogle credits still, or jewel mines if you're looking for MP gems, or if you're looking for, that kind of thing. Or, the Moogle markets are kind of nice when they do the events, but who knows what you're going to get in the events. Maybe you can get a hero unlock, in which case it's worth having a Moogle market, or Moogle village, but it's not going to help you out for defense at all. At least not until you can use those Moogle credits. So the next way to get a lot of troop buffs is going to be having good defending monsters. That's going to be really big for defense. I keep saying that's going to be really big. That's going to be huge. I keep saying that. But having good monsters on defense, you got 3 defense slots here. Hopefully you can at least unlock one. If you can unlock the second one, even better. In terms of what monsters to use here, I think there's 2 that are far and away the best for defense. And the first one I would say is the Reaper Tail monster. And one thing that's cool about the Reaper Tail, so there's the 5-star and then there's the 4 stars. The 5-star is really good. If you can get a 5-star Reaper Tail on defense, look at that. Huge warrior attack, 700,000 troop armor, and then 90% anti-armor shredding. And the anti-armor shredding with a lot of armor, we mentioned that earlier, it's a really good combination, especially most people, they don't have over 100% armor shredding. So if you can block all their armor shredding, all your armor is going to still be good. So, and this monster gives you both. It gives you anti-armor shredding and troop armor. If you don't have the 5-star yet, that's okay. The 4 stars powered up are actually really good. And I don't have any examples here, but I know off the top of my head, you can power up the 4-star and get I think you can get 50% anti-armor shredding on the 4-star monsters. You can get, probably a couple 100,000 troop armor and probably 100,000 warrior attack if you power up the 4 stars. So you're fine with a powered up 4-star Reaper Tail. You could do 2 powered up 4-star Reaper Tails. If you can get a 5-star, even better. If you don't have the Reaper Tails, the Carla bosses are still pretty good on defense. They give you the troop armor. They'll give you the troop attack. They'll give you the elemental armor. The 5-star one's really good. The 4 stars aren't quite as good as the Reaper Tail, but they're still okay if you power them up decently. You're better off with that than nothing. But you can get a lot of... look at that Reaper Tail. That 5-star Reaper Tail, guys. If you can get one of those, you're going to be way, way, way better off. Like, way better off. Those are really the best 2. The Reaper Tail, the Carla boss. The other good 5-stars, if you can get a Midgar Swarm, those are still okay. The Quetzalcoatl 5-stars are still pretty good. Especially if you're cavalry heavy, the Quetzalcoatl 5-star is a good one to have. That gives you cavalry HP. What else does that give you? That gives you some good buffs. Let's see what else. There's another 5-star, isn't there? There's the 5-star Tonberry, and that one works pretty good. That'll give you attack shredding, HP shredding, and armor shredding of the person attacking you. So that one will be really good. More, I think, a couple months from now, one will be the one to have. But in the meantime, most people don't have over millions of attacks. So taking off 15% of that, you're better off with a Reaper Tail for now. But I think that's going to change. Eventually, that 5-star Tonberry monster is going to be even better than the Reaper Tail once the buffs start getting up. So just to recap here, having good gear, having good gems, good defending monsters, that's going to be so important for defense. If you can nail 2 of those 3, you'll be in way better position. Hopefully you can get all of those. Getting the expansions leveled up, getting the hospitals to 81 or the barracks to 81, whatever you have inside, getting them to 81, going to be big. If you're big onto capturing heroes and then getting the banishment boost, getting these to 81 are going to be big too. You're going to get a lot of buffs from all those things that we mentioned. The research will help some, but I'm going to be completely honest. You can max out your combat research section. You're not going to get all that many buffs from it. Like, you're better off focusing on the defending monsters and everything else we just mentioned. But another big thing is going to be, if you do the defense research, you're going to want to at least get level 7 traps. And ideally, if you get level 8 traps, you'll be way better off. And these defensive buffs are pretty good too. Trying to get the trap HP, trap attack, the defense armor, all that's going to help out. The other way is to get good buffs, all the mastery skills. If you can get the more mastery skill points you have in maxing out different mastery skill sections, that's a good way to get a lot of points. Of course, the downside to that is you have to level up all your heroes. So, that could be a grind to get all the XP and the mats. But once you do it, you get really good buffs from all the mastery skills. So if I had to rank it, let's just go through the rank here. I would say most your buffs are going to come from your gems. The next probably where you're going to get most of your buffs is going to be your gear. That's probably for me. That's where I get next most of my buffs. Then the expansions, then the monsters, then the mastery skills, and along with the mastery skills, you have the limit break skills. And the limit break skills are pretty darn valuable for defense. Downsides, it takes a while to cast them. You have to be online to cast it. But if you're online to cast them, some of these enchantments are pretty good. The best enchantments, I actually really like Ignis's. And let me see if I can find it real quick. I think Ignis is the helmet. Yeah, Ignis gives you the helmet enchantment, and this gives you anti-armor shredding and fire elemental troop attack. That's great for defense. Get that anti-armor shredding, especially if you don't have the Reaper tail. You're going to need that anti-armor shredding from somewhere. You can get it from Ignis's limit break skill, and it helps to have that fire elemental troop attack buff. The other good ones, the Prompto's boots one, that's great because you get armor shredding. So when they're attacking you, to decrease the armor in their troops, that's going to help you out. Of course, the best skill in the game for defense is Iris's accessory enchantment, the city defense HP bonus, 53 million. Like that's way more than any buff you're going to get anywhere else. So having that one's going to be big. Arania's is great because that's a way to get troop attack bonus against Astrals and eat through their Astral HP. So I need to work on this. I need to get more Dragoon Blooms for it, for sure. And I like Luna's too. The cool thing about Luna's is she buffs the body armor. And let's look. I think I have Luna's. Yeah, here's Luna's. Gives you that Astral Regeneration, which 28,000 sounds like a lot, but it seems really slow. Like it doesn't, it still seems slow. But the Astral attack is big if you have Ifrit or Leviathan. So bam, bam. There's also this one, the Undertaker. That's going to help you out, especially if you have good elemental troop buffs. I don't have very good elemental troop buffs, so usually I use Luna's. So the next big thing on defense, I would say, it might even be bigger than some of the ones I just mentioned. But if you can get a really good level up Astral, that's going to make a huge difference. It's up there. It might be more important than your defending monsters even. It might be as important as leveling up all your expansions is having a good Astral. And in terms of which Astral's the best, I definitely would go with Leviathan. Ifrit's still really good. If you have a really leveled up Ifrit, you can work with that. Ifrit's great because it's going to buff all your warriors. It's going to buff all your fire elementals. So Ifrit can be really nice, but I think Leviathan is the best. And the reason I think Leviathan's the best, a couple of reasons. For starters, you get 200k defending armor bonus if you max it. You get 200k trap HP if you max it. You get, what is this, 84k troop HP with this one max. So just those three skills make Leviathan great for defense. But that's not all he does. I mean, he also deals a decent amount of damage to the attacking troops. He gives you some cavalry armor piercing. He gives you some cavalry attack. Yeah, I just like Leviathan. I really do like Leviathan. What else does he give you? He gives you troop help while attacking the crystals. So those skills don't help you out too much for defending. But just these three skills, and don't underestimate the trap HP. And 200k is a lot of trap HP. And having good traps could be the difference between you losing guardians when you're attacked and your guardians surviving and then dying. So that could be the difference for sure. So that's why I would go with Leviathan. But you can go with Ifrit too. Especially Ifrit might be better if your goal is to capture the other person's hero. Ifrit could work if you need to eat through all their astral HP. Because if you have Ifrit, you're definitely going to deal more damage to the enemy. But you're going to also take more damage with Ifrit than with a nice old Leviathan. So I think Leviathan's a girl, actually. I keep saying he for Leviathan, but she's awesome. So yeah, I think that's most of your buffs are going to come from those things. Am I missing something? I don't think I am. You could always go through your troop buffs here And there are some good ones. Like if you have the egg buffs, you can get 100k troop HP, 100k city defense. Like there's some really good ones here. City defense HP 150k. So I got these boosts. I got them in some. It was what was it, like an Ignis chest or some kind of chest, some kind of egg chest, or yeah, some kind of chest from winning an event was where I got all mine. But those buffs are big, so most of your buffs are going to come from those things. The other way to get pretty decent buffs is to max your VIP section, and you can get at 110 you get 42 HP, 42k HP, 42k armor, 42k attack. All that's going to help. So yeah, that's all good. And we have new Oracle buffs that just came out that I don't think most people have got the materials for. You get some of the materials for doing the events, but it seems to be pretty slow going. Like you're going to have to do a lot of events to get most of these buffs, it seems like. But these buffs are going to be great. Yeah, those buffs are going to be great. So moving on, I mentioned there's a bunch of different aspects to defense. Having as many buffs as you can get, probably the most important thing. The next, or maybe just as important as that, is having the correct troop and trap composition. And this can be incredibly difficult to get the correct composition. But one thing I would say is, well, let's just dive into it. So, in my opinion, the best defending troop is going to be Earth Warriors. And hopefully you can get some level 8 Earth Warriors, but the level 7 Earth Warriors are still pretty darn good. Like I'm thinking these Earth Warriors are the way to go. The reason I like the Warriors is because if you have an Ifrit, they're going to be impressively buffed. If you're running with Leviathan, maybe you'd want to go Cavalry Earth. But the other thing is if you have Reaper Tail monsters. So Reaper Tail is going to buff your Warriors. So getting really good buffs on the Earth Warriors, that's why I am heavy Warriors. Especially I'm normally running with Ifrit. More because I'm always like to be ready for the attack, and I like the fire well production from Ifrit. So that's why I went heavy Warriors, because my Warriors are going to be more buffed than my Cavalry troops. But if you're focused more on Cavalry troops, I would go Earth Cavalry. And Earth troops are so good for defending because they get that, even the T7 ones, they get that T9 attack for defense when defending your Empire. And that's going to be gigantic. If you can get as many Earth troops as you can possibly get, the better. And I would go heavy either Warriors or Cavalry. The problem with mages is, look at your troop buffs. Your mages are often your least buffed troop. Like, unless you're running with Shiva, then maybe you'd want to go Earth mages. But I would go through your troop buffs in your profile. So here, profile, I would look at what troop type is the most buffed for you, and I would go heavy that troops, and then I would get Earth elementals for that troop type. So let's come over here to boost. Let's look at mine. So my Warriors, 152k attack, 45k HP, 10k armor. My mages, they're like 145,000 less, way less HP. And my cavalry troops, even with Leviathan, I have less cavalry attack than warrior attack, and almost no cavalry HP. So that's why I'm heavy Warriors, because they have the best buffs. And they also, of course, get all the troop armor, troop HP, troop attack buffs in stacked up with that. So I would look at your buffs, see what troop type you have is the most buffed, and I would go heavy that troop. Now, in terms of a good troop composition, what I would strive for is, you do want a mix of troops. Like you want warriors, you want cavalry, and you want mages. And I would want a decent mix. Like I would want at least 25% mages, at least 25% cavalry, at least 25% warriors. So that's 75% of your troops right there. I would want at least 25 minimum of each. And then sieges, you want a little bit of siege just because it's going to help you eat through their traps. But I wouldn't go too heavy siege unless your siege buffs are really good. Personally, I just go like, I could show you what I have. I have, the other downside of sieges is you can't imbue them into essence. But I'll show you what my composition looks like. Yeah, so you can see here, 53 million warriors, 43 million mages, 44 million cavalry, 15 million siege. I think that's a pretty good combo, especially if your warriors are your most buffed troop. You can see like I have more warriors than everything else because they're the most buffed. My next most buffed troop is cavalry, so that's why I have more cavalry than mages, and that's how I run with it. Uh, yeah, that's what I would do. At least 25% of each, though. Like, you don't want to drop below that. Otherwise, they can counter you and attack with a specific troop type, and that's going to help them out if you're too unbalanced. So you want some balance, but I would still go a little heavy, whatever troop is buffed the most. And boom. So that's what I do. It seems like if you're I think in the older realms, level 7 troops are just going to be fodder these days. You're going to need level 8 troops or level 7 elementals. I think that's kind of the borderline. That's pretty much as low as you want to get in the older servers. Unless you have really good troop buffs, and maybe you can get away with level 7. But most people, you're going to want level 8 troops, and you're going to want elementals. The cool thing about the level 8, some people were playing with the level 6 elementals, and I would rather have level 6 earth elementals than level 7 troops. And they're going to die first in battle, so you could go something like that. I would definitely prefer level 6 elementals to level 7 troops, but I'm at that stage. I had level 7 troops, and they just get destroyed on defense. Like, they're just not good enough. 8's kind of the minimum. If you're not at T8 troops yet, I'm sorry, guys. It might be best off bubbling or just having enough troops to, like, whatever your troop capacity is for your hospital troop capacity. Maybe don't go beyond that for troops, or just be aware that they're probably going to die if somebody attacks you, because some people are really strong. Now I say level 7 troops are fodder. They're only going to be fodder for the strongest players. If you're going up against somebody, a lot of it's going to depend on who's attacking you. I mean, you can get away with level 7 troops if it's somebody weak attacking you, or somebody who's not hitting you with, if they're hitting you with less than 1,000,000 troop attack, you could maybe survive with level 7 troops. But if they've got over 1,000,000 troop attack, level 7 troops are just fodder. So that's why I don't have any anymore. I'm just rocking T8 troops. And yeah, so of course Earth Elementals are the best for defense. But if you have really good elemental gems, like say you go all fire elemental gems, you could go heavy fire elementals and just go more with them buff. They won't get the defending bonus. The fire troops won't. But if they have enough buffs, they'll still do really good on defense. So, and of course, any elemental troop's going to be better than any level 7 elementals better than the level 7 troops. So even if it's ice level 7 are still fine. Like, you can get away with those still on defense. So, that's what I would do. I would go heavy earth and fire if you have Ifrit. If you don't have Ifrit, just earth, man. Earth is fine. Like, heck yeah, earth still works good. And I've kind of rambled on about that for a little bit. What am I missing here? I think that's most of it. Now, like, there's some Crystal Nexus buffs, but and there's some other little buffs here, but I think they're kind of outdated. Like, most of your HP is going to come from those things that I've listed. I hope I didn't forget one. I might be forgetting something, but I think I covered most of it. So, cool. Let's move on. Back to troop comp. That's what I was talking about. So in terms of troops, I mentioned heavy, whatever troop is buffed the most. And the next big thing, so of course that's the normal troops. There's also the mercenary troops. And a good defense is going to consist of some mercenary troops. Hopefully you have some Undying Guardians and the new Shadow Guardian. And these two troops together are going to be insanely good for defense. The cool thing about these guys, really high troop HP. Really high, even their attacks 4 times with the Undying Guardians, but the big benefit to these guys is their alive troop count is concealed. So I attack somebody with these guys, and when you wound them, you can see how many troops you wound when you attack somebody with the Shadow Guardians. But if you're scouting them or you attack them, you can't see how many of their alive troops they have of the Shadow Guardians. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, definitely the Undying. The cool thing about the Undying too is they are immune to armor piercing. So having a mix of Undying and Shadow Guardians, dang yeah, that's going to help you out so much. The thing with Guardians though is you got to be careful they don't die when you're attacked. Now there is this new thing with the mercenary fighting pits that you have a dedicated mercenary hospital capacity, and I think that's going to help out a lot of people with the Guardians to get that level 8 fighting pits. At least if you have 100,000 Guardians, they will go to the mercenary fighting pits and be safe. If you've got over 100,000, I don't really know what happens, to be honest. I haven't tested it out. I think they just go to the normal hospital once your mercenary hospital fills up. That's what I think, because I attacked a guy earlier, and actually we could probably verify that to be certain here. I think this has been the topic of some debate, is what happens when your Guardians are wounded. And I attacked this guy because he stole my expansions. Let's see here. 46,000. One of these attacks, I wounded a couple 100,000. Okay, here we go. So 138,000. And they were all wounded. No, none died. So unless he's got a level 9 fighting pits, which I don't think he does, they do fill up your normal hospital mercenary capacity and then go to your normal hospital capacity. So cool. There's that, guys. That's kind of cool. I guess otherwise, if you didn't have the level 8 fighting pits, they would die instantly. So that's cool. They do go to the normal hospital. This is a actually we can look at this guy's account as a good example of what a good defense looks like. And he went with the not going too heavy on, like, look, he's only got 10 million capacity. This guy had 10 million, 10 billion. He had 10 billion account power. His account is a 10 billion power account. And you can see here, he's just got a decent amount of level 8 troops, but almost no level 7 troops, like hardly any. Good amount of Guardians. Golden Guardians still are, they're better than nothing. Like, Golden Guardians are better than no Guardians, but ideally you get the Shadow Guardians, you get the Undying Guardians. Of course, as many level 9 troops as you can get will help out a ton. But yeah, he's got this is a pretty good defending account. Decent amount of level 7 traps. Does he have any Earth troops? I don't think he has any Earth troops. So maybe that's the only thing I would change. Oh, he does have hardly any. So that's probably the only thing I would change on this, is I would try to switch out, make these level 7 troops Earth troops. That'd be a pretty good account. Especially, that's only 10 million troops. So if he could like double that with 8 T9 troops, he'd be almost unattackable. And look at that. He's got the Reaper Tail monsters, which I highly recommend. Even the 4-star Reaper Tails, if they're powered up, work really effectively. So yeah, shout out to that guy on his defense. Nice. Yeah, give a shout out to him. And that's the fighting pits. So of course, getting the Guardians is going to be really key for defense. You got to be careful with the Guardians though, because if you get attacked by a big strong player and all your hospital capacity fills up, they will die. So there's a couple things you can do to prevent that. The first thing is, like we said, don't have level 7 troops. Just go whatever bare minimum really good troop you can build is, like a T8 troop or the T7 elementals. The better troop behind your Guardian, the more HP that troop has, the harder it's going to be for your entire hospital capacity to fill up, and then for your Guardians to die. So that's going to be big. That's why I don't recommend having a lot of level 7 normal troops. It's going to fill up your capacity and kill your Guardians unless you've got a huge, mercenary troop capacity, mercenary troop hospital capacity. So get the Guardians if you can get them. You can still get some Undying in some of the Moogle events. And also, if you're doing a lot of the normal events, you get some choose your mercenary gear. And sometimes you can choose your Guardian mats for that, the Undying. So that's what I would do. I would get some Undying. I would get some Shadow. However you can do it. We had a Luna gift dropping the Shadow Guardians. That's how I was able to get my 14,000. Of course, if you have Arania, switch to Arania when you train the Guardians. You'll get 50% more, whatever it is. But those two, any Guardian is going to help you out some. The Crown's Guards, I think, are a little outdated, but let me see. Do I have? I can't even see what their stats are, but I think they're probably not worth having because they're just going to fill up your capacity. But I guess you could do with those. You could still have some and be fine. Like you're fine with some of those for sure. The next big thing, if you have Shadow Stalkers, going to help you a ton on defense because they hit really hard and they're strong against Guardians. So if they're attacking you with Guardians, their Guardians are going to be toast. If you have a bunch of Shadow Stalkers, and they can't see how many you have, so of course getting as many Shadow Stalkers as you can are going to help out. The other mercenary troops that are good, of course the Kuja, of course the the airships. I do like the airships on defense. Uh, yeah, because you get that attack bonus against Guardians, and sometimes somebody will attack you with Guardians in order to get a victory on your account. So if you have a lot of airships, you're going to destroy their Guardians pretty darn quick. Which airship is the best, though? I think... Let's see. Is it the Fleet area? Are those the best? Yeah. These are pretty darn good. Of course, getting a lot of them is kind of difficult, but having some of those would help if you can get them. The other really cool mercenary troop on defense is the Disciples of Shiva. The cool thing about these guys is they're basically like a T8 troop, except for they're strong against elemental ice troops and mages and siege if you have the cavalry. So that's kind of a cool combo. Like I'm liking these guys, and they get a bonus against non-elemental troops as well. So yeah, you get a 10k bonus against non-elemental troops, which I guess that was a lot better back in the day. But hey, if you can get some of these guys, they're fine too. I would definitely go with Undying over these guys. Like if you have the option of what gear mat, do you go with Undying gear pieces? Or why did I say gear pieces? If you go with Undying mercenary rations materials or the Disciple of Shiva, I would definitely choose the Undying Guardians. That's just me. So bam. Yeah, mercenary fighting pits will help you out quite a bit. Another big component to defense. There's a big debate going on here too. What should you do in terms of traps for defense? Like, do you want a lot of wall traps or do you not build any wall traps? And I've kind of gone both ways on this. One thing I've noticed is traps, they went from really bad to really good to now being just okay again. Like traps are kind of like reasonably powered right now. They're not too strong where like they were a couple months ago, right when Leviathan came out. They're reasonably powered. What I do is I build traps. Now, the downside of having a lot of traps is if somebody attacks me, my traps are just going to be evaporated. But the cool thing is they are a buffer to keep my Guardians alive, and that's why I have them. That's the reason I have fire traps or any trap in general, but that's why I have them, because they're going to help keep my troops alive, my Guardians alive. It's going to give me a little bit of breathing room in between. It's going to allow me to take an extra hit or two. They're easy to repair. It's sort of a buffer. The downside, though, and I've seen a lot of battle reports recently of people getting defeats because they have traps. Because they have level 7, even the level 8 traps, you're more likely to get a defeat with those traps than you are. Like they almost work against you because the people who attack you are going to have higher troop buffs than you have trap buffs. So those troops eat through the traps pretty fast, even though they're weak against traps. And that's what I've noticed, especially recently. A lot of people have been showing me battle reports of them getting attacked with 10 million traps and then getting attacked with no traps. And they actually do quite a bit better with no traps in the battle reports. But again, it's going to help keep your Guardians alive. It's going to give you an extra attack before, you need to heal up your troops and everything. So that's why I have them. I do recommend the fire. And the thing that I go with fire is because they're strong against warriors. And most people are going to be attacking you with warriors and Ifrit these days. So that's why I have almost all fire traps. You could go with a mix. I probably would do a mix, except for usually my traps die and I have to rebuild them instantly. So that's why it's a lot easier to just build fire than to build like 30% fire, 30% trap, ice. 30% lightning. So that's why I do that. And another thing too, if you don't have Leviathan, your traps are going to burn way quicker. And if you don't have Ignis's mastery skill, his trap HP, or Cindy's trap HP, I think Cindy has a trap HP one too. Maybe she doesn't. I can't remember now. But if you don't have those, your traps are going to just evaporate pretty fast. So I know a lot of people, they don't have any traps. I don't fault them for it. In fact, in a lot of cases, it makes sense to have no traps. Like if you're solely focused on getting victories on the defending reports, on the battle reports, like say you have some heroes that you don't want to lose. You don't want to let your heroes that you've captured be released. It wouldn't hurt to dismiss all your traps. Unless you've got over 500k trap HP. In that case, maybe you can hang on to your traps. But if your trap HP is under 500k and you need to keep heroes, it wouldn't hurt to dismiss them. Especially, another thing you could look at too is check out your boosts. And let's come over here. Let's look at my boosts again. And you can see here, my trap HP, 573k. My trap armor, 220k. So let's keep those two numbers in mind. Now, let's come over here and look at my troop armor, 1.4 million. My troop HP, 600k. So my troops are going to be a lot more, they're going to survive a lot easier than my traps are. If I have a level 7 troop and a level 7 trap, my level 7 troops are going to survive more than my level 7 traps are, even though they're weak against, or they're equal against normal troops, whereas traps are strong against troops. Because the trap armor is so small, my traps are going to just evaporate way quicker than my troops. So that's why a lot of people don't have any traps. They'll give you a little bit more damage to the enemy attacking you, and they'll give you that little buffer, but also more likely to give you a defeat on the battle reports. So there's that, guys. Another big thing on defense. So we've talked about troop composition. We've talked about troop buffs. Another thing you could do that I think is pretty effective on defense, especially if you have like farm accounts, is try to get astral reinforcements. And your astrals deal a huge chunk of damage. So if you can get 2 astrals reinforcing you, yeah, you're gonna be really better off. Even like a farm accounts. What I do is I've got this little drone account. I reinforce my main account with its Leviathan, and that just gives me a little bit more astral HP, a little bit more damage to the enemy when they attack them, and it's going to help keep my astral alive longer by absorbing some of that damage that the enemy's dealing. So that's what I do, guys. I think I pretty much covered everything on defense there. Well, maybe. I'm not sure. What am I forgetting, guys? Hope I'm not forgetting anything, but I feel pretty good about this, so I'm going to put it out there for you guys. Hope you guys are all doing good, and I'll talk with you soon. Peace out, guys.